This is the 2024 M4 iPad Pro, and it's so thin that the camera wouldn't even focus on it. At first I was like, who was asking for them to make the iPad thinner? I don't think anyone was. But now that I think about it, when I had my M1 iPad Pro 12.9 inch, it was quite heavier and thicker than this one. And now that I'm holding it in the hand, it feels much better. So I could see for other professionals who use iPad to carry this around, which would be much more of a breeze, more convenient. And you know, that's what makes this thing portable. It's lightweight. It has a beautiful new tandem OLED display that is amazing to watch content on. And to me, that's exactly what this device is. A good device to watch content on. It's not going to be something that can replace a MacBook Pro. It's not going to be the device that can replace your desktop. It's a good device to edit on, but what type of stuff are you trying to edit on? So in this video today, I'm going to talk to you about what this device I think it's good for and what I think it's not good for. I definitely don't think it's better than MacBook for sure. My friend and I recently created a podcast called Creators Today. His name is Faisal Ali, and we have hit the podcast on his channel, so you should definitely check that out. The other day, we just did our first episode comparing iPad Pro to MacBook Pro, and that episode was really awesome. I learned a lot of things about the iPad Pro that I didn't know or that I didn't consider because I wasn't really an iPad Pro user. I always had an M1 iPad Pro, but it always just sat in my bag. Either it was dead or it was barely getting used because I had a MacBook Pro. Never edited on the thing. Maybe if I was on the go, I needed to edit a photo, okay, I would use it. But to me, the experience with editing on iPad Pro, it's not where it is. Apple is asking you to pay computer money for this iPad Pro. This is the 13-inch model in the space black colorway. Minimum storage, $1,300. But for that price, you can get an M2 MacBook Air. And it doesn't even come with the keyboard, nor does it come with the Apple Pencil. If you want the keyboard, well, the keyboard that they've designed right here, this new design with the function row and a nicer trackpad, it is lighter weight too. This is $350. But for that price, you can get Apple's entry-level iPad. So who is this stuff made for? Like, literally who? This would be a good thumbnail shot. Who is this iPad made for? Like, I mean, $1,300, $350, not to mention the Apple Pencil Pro that's now $129. And I believe that Apple Pencil Pro only works with this one. So if you want the squeeze function or the hover, you can only use it with this. Like, come on, Apple, this is a ripoff at this point. But let me tell you how I feel about the iPad Pro. This iPad Pro is Apple's thinnest device ever, even thinner than an iPod that they made years ago. This is 5.1 millimeters. It's really, really freaking cool. But it doesn't have fans inside. It only has one USB-C Thunderbolt port. This is not made to edit high quality 10-bit 422 6K RAW Blackmagic Sony FX9. It's not made to edit that type of video on. This is an iPad. It does really well to edit basic content. My friend Faisal Ali fully switched from his MacBook Pro to the iPad Pro, and on here he edits his iPhone 15 Pro Max footage. He also uses a DJI Pocket 3 to edit the footage on there. He's a graphic designer. For those types of people, the Apple iPad Pro is perfect, especially because you can pair it with the Apple Pencil Pro, and using that for some people is a very good benefit. But for a lot of people, it's not, especially me. I use apps like Evoto, Lightroom, Photoshop, and Topaz AI to edit my photos and videos. And a lot of those apps aren't available on the iPad Pro. And if they are, such as Lightroom and Photoshop, you don't get the full versions. I'm pretty sure I'm right on this, but if I'm wrong, correct me in the comments below. You can't denoise a photo on iPad with Lightroom or Photoshop. You have to go to a computer. But I thought this was supposed to be a pro device. So I'm like, is it really pro? No, because it can't do simple functions like that. Now, we just got generative remove on Lightroom, which is a great feature, and that's going to be available on iPad. So I'm kind of jealous that I could use my Apple Pencil and remove things that I want to remove on there. But again, I don't even like editing photos on the iPad Pro anyway, so I kind of wouldn't care. It would be cool to kind of maybe use this on my MacBook Pro, but the MacBook is not touchscreen. So if we want to wait for foldable MacBooks in the future, we'll just have to wait and see what they do with that. If they put macOS in this iPad, I would definitely use it. I would take this more with me every day than I did my MacBook Pro. But then here comes the issue. Again, the keyboard, it has a USB-C port on the back, and if I attach it, that would be the only way I could do charging at the same time while having an SSD plugged in to edit my footage. But if you're an iPhone shooter, then that works because you can AirDrop everything and this thing has a great battery life. But if you're a camera shooter and you want to transfer your stuff while charging it, I mean, you can't do that. Final Cut Pro, it's not even a full version on the iPad Pro. It's actually a subscription. You can't buy it outright on the iPad Pro, but on the MacBook Pro, you can. $300 one-time fee. On here, it's like $5, $10 a month. So that's kind of weird. If you own Microsoft Office on the MacBook Pro, you can't transfer it to here. You have to rebuy the software. So there are differences between what the MacBook Pro can do and what the iPad Pro can do. Steve Jobs announced the iPad Pro back in 2010, and it's been 14 years now. Ever since it came out, I think it was never Apple's goal to have this maybe replace a MacBook Pro. Now, some people have been able to use this device and stop using the MacBook Pro, and that's great. I wish I was able to do that, but I'm not. But you know, I'm glad it works for some people. It definitely doesn't work for me. Now, the iPad Pro is something that is, again, amazing, very convenient to watch content on. If I owned this specific model, I would use it to watch content. But I would feel guilty buying it just to do that, because if I want to do that, I can use my TV, my studio display, or my MacBook Pro. I can't justify spending $1,300 and getting an Apple Pencil, because you got to use Procreate, so that's $1,430, just to watch content and maybe draw on. I mean, that wouldn't make sense to me. But for some people, it does. The OLED display on here is very high quality, and I think that is a very nice feature of the iPad Pro, so I'm glad they introduced a much higher quality display while making this thinner and giving it a better battery life with the M4 chip. Now, that's another thing I want to talk about. All of the iPads in the past have either gotten some type of bionic chip, but then they started introducing M1, M2, and M3 and M4 chips. The iPads never got the M3 chip, but anyways, they always get the base model M chip. M1, M2, M4. This device will never get a M4 Pro, M4 Max, or even M4 Ultra. It's not what it's made for. So again, that's one of the other reasons why I don't think this is as pro of a device than other pro devices Apple does sell. It's not made to handle very, very high files. At least I don't think so. I'm not going to test it in this video, but I'm pretty sure that this cannot outperform my M3 MacBook Pro in a lot of video editing software tests. I definitely don't think so. And again, when someone's buying a high-end camera or wanting to edit a high-end project, they're not going to think of doing it on the iPad Pro. They're going to go to a Mac, because if you have a project that has 300 gigs of 4K 10-bit 422 footage, how are you going to get it on here if you only have a 256 gig hard drive? If you use the SSD, it doesn't even have fans. I think it would be a nightmare doing it on here. And I know it sounds like I'm bashing the iPad Pro, but trust me, I'm not. I really like this device. I don't like the price of it. I don't like the price of the keyboard. But aside from price, I really, really like the design. It has a camera, which is good, because if it didn't, we'd complain about it. But, you know, it's a good device. A lot of people use it like this. So then why is the logo that way, though? You know, that's weird. On here, it's the correct way. Right? Can you see? I don't know if you can see that, but on here it's not. Well, what they did do is change the orientation of the FaceTime camera right here. So it used to be there, but now it's here. So that's very convenient. They did this feature to a different iPad a couple years ago or a couple months ago, but now they brought it to the iPad Pro, so that's definitely a welcome feature. This keyboard is very nice and it's lighter weight, but here's what I don't like. Let's say this is my lap and I tip it. I could drop this. That sucks. But if I bring my MacBook Pro to do that, I'm definitely not going to have that problem. It would suck if I dropped these. Look, it's not like, you know what I mean? There is a weight difference at the bottom, and I just like this device more. But so I'm very glad that it comes in this base black colorway, because I really like this color. One of the reasons I did buy it, aside from me needing a 14-inch model, but more in the MacBook Pro at a different time. In my opinion, if you're just taking notes or drawing or watching content on the iPad Pro, you most likely wouldn't have noticed the difference between the M4 iPad Pro and the M1 iPad Pro. Aside from the hover feature and the squeeze feature, if you weren't considering those things, you would not notice a difference. So I think you can still get the iPad experience without getting the iPad Pro. This is their highest end model, but it's not needed to enjoy the iPad experience. They also just released the M2 iPad Air with the 13-inch. It is thicker and a little bit heavier, but you can still use Apple Pencil with it, and it's still an incredible device. Again, the iPad Pro, it's not for everyone. It's the nicest and thinnest device they sell, but you can still get that experience getting a 10th gen iPad, a iPad Air, or even an iPad mini. But I would wait on that, because I'm pretty sure in October they're going to upgrade and refresh that device, so hold off on that. Here's another thing not a lot of people think about when buying an iPad Pro. When you go to buy an iPad Pro, you only have the option of choosing the size, the color, and the memory that's inside of it, and maybe the display, because now they have nano texture, which I think is a whole gimmick in its own. It's good, but just get a cover. That will be much cheaper. But you can't choose the RAM in here. You can't choose the CPU and GPU cores, and you can't choose the type of chip that's in here. It's just an M4. Now, when you get a MacBook Pro, you can choose the color, the size, the chip, the amount of CPU and GPU cores, and the screen size as well, like you can do on here, but that's a lot more configurable than this is. I would love to be able to choose how much RAM is inside this thing. 64 gigs, 128 gigs. There are people that if that option was available, I'm telling you, they would have 128 gigs of RAM in this thing just because they are made of money. I obviously wouldn't recommend doing that because this thing doesn't need that much RAM anyway, but people should have options like that. People would be willing to pay $3,000 for an iPad Pro. I mean, there are some people who will buy iPad or Apple product no matter what it costs. I mean, look at the Vision Pro, for example. $3,500 VR headset, a lot of people bought it. So I think Apple should definitely bring that type of customization to the iPad Pro. Make it more Pro, not iPad Pro. iPad Pro, if you know what I mean. Like I mentioned earlier, I had an M1 iPad Pro 12.9 inch and I had it in my backpack a lot, never really used it, but I didn't want to sell it yet. I had a 16-inch MacBook Pro that I used here and there for editing photos when I didn't want to use my Mac Studio, but I knew the iPad event was coming. So I thought, okay, maybe they'll bring macOS to the iPad, maybe they will make the iPad much better than ever before, and maybe what I'll do is I'll trade in my M1 iPad Pro and get the M4 iPad Pro. But the second I watched the keynote, I was like, dude, there is not enough changes to the iPad Pro that make me be like, okay, I want the new M4 iPad Pro. So I sold my iPad Pro, the 12.9 inch, the M1, and instead of getting a different iPad, I just got the 14-inch M3 MacBook Pro in the space black colorway. That device, I have used it so freaking much. I take it everywhere with me. I can edit on the go. It's super, super powerful. I got the base model, 18 gigs of RAM, 512 gig SSD, and I'm glad I did. I got it open box at Best Buy and I got a really, really good deal. So I'm happy that I did that. And if I put these side by side, man, I would get so much more use out of the MacBook Pro than I would this device. So again, I'm just not the type of guy who could edit on this. Maybe you are and that's good for you, but I definitely would not find this to be a pro device as they claim it to be. Now, maybe in the future, I will get an iPad Pro because I do have a buying problem when it comes to Apple products, but not right now. Like I mentioned earlier, I have a 16-inch and a 14-inch MacBook Pro, but ever since I got my 14-inch MacBook Pro, I don't touch my 16-inch. And when I open it, I'm like, dude, this is heavy, this is really big. And most of the time when I open the lid, it's dead because I don't use it. And I'm like, I could trade in my 16-inch MacBook Pro and get a 13-inch iPad Air, but would I even use this thing? Would I regret it? I don't know. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Definitely subscribe to my channel if you want to see more tech videos like this coming soon. I'm also going to do a tech review on my whole desk setup and all the Apple products I use to edit and create content. And then after that, you'll see some videos about my cameras and lighting and how I get this set up. So definitely stay tuned for that. And make sure to watch a Creators Today podcast with my friend Faiza Lee. We have episodes coming out weekly, and I know you're going to love it. So stay tuned. Thank you guys so much for watching. And until next time, I'm the iPad Pro hater. Peace.